driving circles, growing sick of the weather. Heather Gray fell asleep in my sweatshirt. I'll leave the world and make a...
Hi guys, welcome to or back to my channel. My name is Samanvita, and today I'm going to be showing you guys all the books that completely changed my life. And I've talked about some of these books before, but I've never actually showed you guys and talked about it in depth. So today's the day. Okay, so the first is Atomic Habits. I've already talked about this before, but it basically talks about how you could actually build a habit, and it's just so good. I just remember the first time I read this, yes, I've read it twice. I usually just read books once, but it's just so good, and it talks in depth of how you could actually build a habit, because I feel like, oh, it's a self-help book. Another book that motivates me, but it doesn't actually give momentum, but this actually tells you a clear plan on how to actually gain momentum, because I feel like for most books, they just motivate you, but they don't actually give you a plan on how to actually change your life, what this does. Alright, the next book is Cant Hurt Me by David Goggins. If you're an athlete, this book will resonate with you because it's just so good, and how he talks about all his journey as being a person of color. And I think what resonated with the most with me is how he talked about being the only, and I think that if you're a person of color, that'll make sense to you. Being the only person who's Indian, being the only person who's brown, I feel like that resonated with me a lot. And then he also talks about pushing yourself, pushing past your limits. I feel like at the end of the workout, you don't want to finish that burnout, but when I hear David Goggins' voice, I just keep on going. So I definitely recommend reading Cant Hurt Me. Alright, the next book up we have Discovering Your Dharma by Sahara Rose, and this book is so good. For the longest time, I was like, okay, I want to be a doctor. I was just kind of pleasing my parents, and it was a high paying job that I thought that would satisfy myself, I thought, but it wouldn't actually make me happy. So it made me realize that I have to do something that actually, number one, gives me passion, but also gives me purpose. So that's what Dharma is. Dharma is a Sanskrit word, and it means passion plus purpose. So my passion is creating jewelry, so I'm going to make a business and I'm going to help people through it, whether it's working through nonprofits, something like that. So I definitely recommend reading it. And she also has a podcast called High Self Podcast. Now the next book is an honorable mention. It's called Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I just read it and I feel like it made me so grateful. It changed my life in a different way. It's a fiction book, and it talks about how this girl named Nina Riva and how she goes through her life, how her mom, something happens to her mom. I don't want to spoil it, but it talks about a lot of stuff and how it takes care of her siblings, and it just made me feel so grateful for the life that I'm living. So yeah. Now this next book is also an honorable mention. It's Daren. I'm currently reading it. It's taken me a lot to finish it because I don't know, the writing style is just hard to absorb. It's by Brene Brown. You might have heard of her. She talks a lot about vulnerability, and this book is about vulnerability too, but it's also about courage, and I think it has a lot of important stuff, and sometimes I just need to reread a book to absorb it. But the next book is called The Power of Now. The Power of Now talks about present. I feel like as teenagers and Gen Z generation, we're constantly thinking about other things, whether it's social media or the internet. I feel like being part of this generation, being part of technology causes us to think a lot about other stuff while we're doing a specific task. And when we're doing work, we think about vacation. Only when we're on vacation, we think about work. So I think that being present is just so important and so vital to your life, and it could change your life, being present, because when you're taking it, number one, procrastination, you won't have it anymore if you're present. Number two, you'll just be so much more happier when you're present, and it allows you to feel your emotions more fully. And it also does this huge thing, takes out comparison, because when you're present, you just think about the now. Alright, the next book is Why We Sleep. I think all teenagers need to read this book because sleeping is so important, and I didn't know how important it was until I read this book. There is I think there's a law in California that you have to start school at 8:30 now because sleeping is so vital. And I think I remember him talking teenagers will get into more car accidents when they're sleepy. So yeah, I think the biggest thing is that don't drive when you're sleepy. So yeah. And then also he talks about how coffee is obviously bad for you because there's a receptor and coffee has like, what is it? The messengers that block that receptor makes you feel awake, but then it doesn't actually make you awake, meaning that once that messenger has like faded away, it causes you to have a crash. So just be aware of that. I know that a lot of people it's like culture to drink coffee, but I think it's super important to be aware of the fact of what you're putting inside your body. I have a lot of trouble falling asleep. I will take hours to fall asleep. So the biggest thing for me that I took away too is that if you want to fall asleep, you have to do sleep inducing habits like reading, read your textbook, reading or journaling, just like those habits. Alright, the next book is Deep Work. Deep work is also for us teenagers. I know I've heard of my friends and they spend hours doing their homework, and this will reduce that to 1 hour. This will change your life because number one, you'll have more free time, and number two, you'll just feel so much more better balancing your work life and your fun life or your personal life. Yeah, so I think that deep work has helped me, and I've shown this in my morning routine. I spend 1 hour doing deep work, and that really helps me set out my days. And also finishing your deep work in the morning is the best way to go, because then that's the time that you have the highest capacity for your brain. So I recommend doing your deep work in the morning, but I know some people are different. Everyone is built different. So if your deep work is better at the night, then do that. Use the highest time for your advantage. Know yourself. You have to know yourself to be able to use it to your advantage. Yeah. And then the next book is Youre Not Dying, You're Just Waking Up. This is by who's it by? I'm gonna search it up. My computer. It's by Elizabeth, but I forgot her last name. She has a podcast, and my friend actually recommended it to me, and it was really good. I mean, like, some of it I was a little skeptical about, but if you love spiritual stuff, you'll love this book. I feel like for me, I started getting into spirituality around in 8th grade, and like the law of attraction. So if you're into that, you'll love the book. But if you're not and you're more realistic, I would say avoid this book, because you might disagree with a lot of stuff. But if you want to like disagree with a book, that's fine. Like for Why We Sleep, I felt like I kind of like disagreed with it before. It's by Elizabeth April. Okay, yeah. Okay, the next book, one of the first books that I read before starting my like self-help journey, is Max Out Your Life by Ed Milet. Yeah, so he's a self-help person. If you guys know Tony Robbins, he's like in the same spirit. He's a very elite, you would say, an elite productive person. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, he talks about how you spend most of your time just wasting it, and you should kind of realize. I feel like honestly sometimes I think that his books like have toxic productivity, but like it helped me a lot because I was the least productive person. So if you need someone to yell at you, read Ed Milet, because I'm sure that you'll become disciplined after that. And again, I feel like for that book, if I just felt like I need to change. And then the next book is, have you read of it? The Power of Habit. The Power of Habit it's just a bunch of like companies and how they're successful and how like they implemented the use of habits. So it's really interesting, and it's not like your average self-help book. There's only one chapter about how to like get habits, but like most of it is just talking about like why habits are so important in business. So yeah, if you like a business book, you'll like this. Alright, the next book is Think Like a Monk. I don't have this book because I read it I read it on my computer. It's by Jay Shetty. He became a monk, and he gained so much insight, and then basically made a book about like how like there's a monkey mindset and then there's a monk mindset. The monkey mindset is when you're constantly thinking, and the monk mindset is when you're present. So that's like one of the main things that I gained from that. And then also I learned a huge thing about like gossiping. Friendships are not built on gossip. It's built on vulnerability and trust. I don't recommend gossiping because ideally your friendships are built on two people, not like the whole school or about that girl. You want your friendships to be vulnerable. The foundation of your friendship should be built on you and this other person. Alright, the next book that completely changed my life is Captivate. Captivate, I used to be super shy, introverted, like everything. And then I realized that like I have a voice and I deserve to speak it, and not only that, but other people deserve to hear what I have to say. And that applies to you as well. Meaning that I wanted to be able to talk to people easily. Like there was always something like a fear of like speaking to people feel that I was annoying, like fear of judgment. Like I've talked about this before, but Captivate really talks about like how you can speak to people, how you can create those connections, and like connections are like the basis of like business. So like I feel like connections will help you so much in life, especially like getting your job. So like definitely read this book. This will help you tactically. Yeah. Alright, the next book is Rich Dad Poor Dad. Okay, this is such an essential book to have. This goes under like the finance section, but like I feel like his writing style is really good. It talks about like how like there's a rich mindset and there's a poor mindset. The rich mindset is saving and investing, and the poor mindset is spending. But obviously I think that this book was very black and white. So in my opinion, like people are in different situations and you have to spend. Like this book, Nina Riva definitely had to spend her money. She couldn't save it because she had to take care of her sibling. But if you have money that you can save, I definitely recommend following some of the methods that he shares, because saving and investing will honestly help you so much. So yeah, so those are all the books, and I'm currently reading I'm in a romance phase. Like actually not even a romance, like a young adult romance phase. Like I'm reading a lot of those books, like Taylor Jenkins Reid. Like Taylor Jenkins Reid isn't even like a romance writer. Like I went to Barnes & Noble today, went in the romance section looking for Taylor Jenkins Reid, didn't find her, had to ask. She was in the fiction section. So yeah, and I never read fiction. Well, romance is fiction, but like it's like a subgenre of fiction. Yeah, and right now I'm reading Maybe in Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I read like one page of it and it's so good. And I also read a little bit of Mary Jane. It's a literary fiction. Like this, that's like super out of my comfort zone. I didn't finish reading it. I read like 10 pages. Okay, like 20 pages. Like yeah, but like it's really good. So yeah, I think that like if you guys like this video, I know this is not really like the type of videos that I post. I feel like books are just a huge part of my life, and I want to share that with you guys. And also I want you guys to change your life, so I think that these books will help change your life. So if you like this video, then let me know and I'll make more videos like this. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching and supporting me.
Give you a kiss, I'll be okay. Drip, drip,